So now I do want to go ahead and jump into talk about the House of Black because I recently got to chat with Brody King and he kind of gave me a little bit of a rundown of how all of this came to be. How he basically told me that you and him were basically talking about kind of doing something together, and then this ended up being brought into AEW. That's how he got brought in, etc. But I also wanted to ask you not just about your thoughts on Brody King coming in and joining you on House of Black, but also to Buddy Matthews because he's somebody that you guys have had working relationships with in the past. So how much input in terms of bringing him in to AEW and having him incorporated into House of Black did you have, and how do you feel about both guys essentially joining you?
When I was in my early stages of my fights with Cody, there was a moment where on the stage, I gave Cody a knee. He fell down, and I told him that this was no longer his house, but it was the House of Black. And then fans, because the camera audio was on when I said it, fans started chanting House of Black. And at that point, it kind of got me thinking. And then later on, it was a hashtag on Twitter. Though I am clearly not the biggest social media lights in the world, it caught my attention. And I started thinking, and I always had ideas, because even this installment of what is the House of Black is something that I did over 13, 14 years ago with similar stables with like the Sumerian Death Squad and stuff like that. But now doing it with all the expertise that I have, all the knowledge that I have with, the experience that I've gained over the course of those added 14 years on top of what I was already wrestling and the success that I had back then, which is ironically the thing that got me noticed to, move towards the United States, etc. I think in this installment, I think it makes a lot of sense to have a guy like Brody King and someone as Buddy Matthews. They have always been intertwined with me somehow, some way. And I presented the idea to Tony. I said, look, this thing kind of grew wings. And if we were to make this an actual existing faction, an actually existing thing, what do you think about Brody King? What do you think about Buddy Matthews? And he was sold on the idea literally instantly when I told him what it would pertain and how I envision what it is and how it would be presented. And because of the way I portrayed myself initially in AEW and the ideas that I gave him and the success of the me and Cody fights that we had and the whole program, etc. I built a lot of trust up with Tony, and I said, "Look, we can do it this way. I have all these thoughts." He gave me his thoughts. We kind of put them together, and we made it work. And both gentlemen were brought in different ways. With a guy like Brody King, who was at the time, I wouldn't say he was unknown, but he definitely was making a name for himself, specifically like in Ring of Honor. And he had just like myself, he has a very distinct look. And him and me have been friends for a very long time. So I had to kind of, make the fans think that they figured it out when I started doing certain subliminal images, subliminal messages. And at that point, I do incorporate a lot of of my social media and things that I would say in promos and, alluding to certain things because I wanted people to figure it out themselves. So by the time he would actually make his presence known, the reward was for the fans as to see. I knew it, so I had to influence them in a way that they thought that they figured it out. And with Buddy, it was almost the exact opposite, and I almost practically gave it to them, and then I almost took it away from them by reacting the way that I did the night that Mr. Matthews made his debut. But both of them, the reactions that we got were more than satisfactory. The numbers that we did in terms of our merchandising and stuff like that has proven that it's a massive success. And still moving up. There's literally nothing about it that I can really complain about. Nothing ever goes smooth, especially not in this business. You get dealt with setbacks, you get dealt with frustrations, you get dealt with, you have to deal with certain things not going the way you want them to go. And that's part of the natural process. But if you can overcome these things and you can move around with them, the end result will always be so much more worth it because now you had to struggle to obtain something versus it being given to you. So, where in the beginning I feel that me and Tony were very much looking for what the position was and what the spot was. We have got a clearer idea on the landscape of AEW where to place it, and slowly but surely, meticulously giving it a bigger and better home moving forward. And I think the last 2 months, 3 months, we've done that. And I'm always a big fan of small climbs. I don't want to go from point A to point Z in the span of a week. I would rather move through all the letters until we have the entire alphabet and then there, because I feel like if I can take an audience on a journey and I tell them something, I give them like little pieces of the puzzle each week versus giving them everything each week. I feel they can really connect to it and they can grow with it and they feel more a part of it, especially when I involve them. And that's exactly what we've done. And again, looking at it from a statistic point of view, it's done exactly what we hoped it would do. And hopefully it will do more moving forward. So I literally cannot complain on that aspect.